Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time to get to Professor X in the Gauntlet. For those of you who are not familiar, I did a full review video on the Gauntlet, including my team and then the listing of teams. At the point in the video, I think there was 4 teams from some amazing players, channels that I really enjoy watching and who they use. And then since then, we continue to update that spreadsheet that is in the video. If you're not familiar with it, definitely go check it out. Okay, I took up Professor X minutes before the Gauntlet. I've been wanting to do it. I've needed a good reason, I guess. I did it, and the rust definitely showed. If you are like me, you saw MSD's run, his stream. It wasn't a stream, but his video of it, and we're immediately emboldened into, yeah, I could totally do Gauntlet with Professor X. So I'm here to show you, I do have a solo, I have a couple close calls, and then I have some fights that just went sideways, but there's moments where it kind of clicked for me, and I want to show them to you. I've received a lot of comments on particularly Korg and Dragonman, and then this Spider-Gwen and Spork. So I'm going to show them all to you. We're going to talk them through, and hopefully if you decide to use Professor X, you can do better than I did. That is my goal with these videos. All right, so let's get to it. This Spider-Gwen one, I'm just extremely comfortable fighting her. This has the window of opportunity. When I opened, I made the decision that I am just going to play this stun immune. I'm used to doing that. I take her in AQ on the Spider-Verse lane. I tend to get her with, I tend to end up with her in a lot of war matchups and things like that. So I'm just very comfortable with her animations, the SP1 evade and things like that. All right, if you're using Professor X, one of the very first things you want to do, it's a mistake I made there early and then was quickly reminded, you want to get him to the 25 channeling charges at a minimum, right? Because once that happens, opponents just cannot evade. It's part of what I love about Professor X, right? You're going to see that evade fail over and over and over on the right, you know, the type there with her, because she's just going to fail so many evades. I'm very comfortable with her SP1, which was a big deal in playing Professor X. You're going to see that struggle later as we get into Dragonman and particularly Korg, both of them. You know, the spacing, taking advantage of his falter mechanic, right, as a way to continue to get your channeling charges up by ramping up your heavy. As I said, I chose to play her stun immune, so I wasn't really going to be able to stun her and then ramp up my channeling charges. So now that I'm at 100, my whole goal is just to get to my SP3. If I can get her over 2 bars of power, I would prefer to do that, right? That's increasing the amount of damage we will do. It's a good thing. And I am, for those who are curious or haven't seen my spreadsheet on this or that video, I will link that at the end of this video and probably at some point here in the middle. I ran a 200% mutant power back boost and a 30% champion boost throughout the whole Gauntlet. It was part of why I chose to do a full mutant team. It just worked out very well for me. So here we go. I think most people know this by now, but if in case you don't, holding heavy as I go into that SP3, it's helping get the prowesses going. So now that I've got it, go in to do the heavy or the dive forward to throw that SP2. You're seeing some big damage going. The power back boost is obviously helping here, right? And I believe, yeah, this was the solo, and I think we get her down in this cycle. So get those 25 channeling charges. You see, we still have 100. If I, for some reason, had not gotten her down in here, keep in mind that the channeling charges would have gone back to 0, but then it's just a simple reset of that fight. If for some reason you don't get her down, or you're at Professor X is at 565 or something like that, or you're not running the 30%, or any of these scenarios that would mean you're not doing as much damage, you'll be fine. Just reset the fight like that and just do it all over again. If you did it once, you can do it again. Okay, now we're going against, I like to call him Spork. I like Spider-Ham. As you can see, I had my first run, I 49%. Just some stuff went wrong. And here's what we really want to talk about with Spider-Ham, things to really keep aware. And I do a decent job of this. And then as we get towards the end, I just do a terrible job of it. As you increase your power when you're fighting spam, his spider nonsense is going to ramp up faster. It's the gray passive, the gray pig passive with the 0. There's a reason this is a problem. One, the problem is when you're just fighting him generically is that once he has 6, he has that chance to evade. So that's a problem, but I should only be attacking in with him once I have the 25 channeling charges, right? We've gone over that and how that's an evade counter. So see, it's not a problem now. But here's why it's a problem in general. It's because that decreases the amount of damage he takes from any special. I believe it's 5% per spider nonsense. So when he's all the way up to 10, that's 50% reduction. That's a really big deal. Additionally, the other thing to really watch out for is that he's placing this taunt. I think the SP1, his SP1 is the better one to evade or to deal with because there's a lot less hits in it. You can evade it, and the SP2 can do some decent damage in your block. The negative is it places a taunt. Now, I was able to get this special off with him having very few spider nonsense, but if I saw it correctly, I think I still had the taunt on, which is reducing my attack. So this can really start to screw with you there. Yeah, see, I still had the taunt on. So ideally, I should have maybe tried to wait for that to go off. The problem is, and where he gets difficult, is that, again, as I said, as you have more power, he builds his spider nonsense more quickly. You saw how quickly it's building up. So you got to really try to pick and choose your openings. And with the amount of specials I've thrown and his health pool, I really should have done more damage. Pick your openings, do what you can to find them. I think I'm about to get smacked here because I remember this run went exceptionally well and then it got close at a point. But so that's my advice with spam is one, get very comfortable with his SP1. Make sure you get your channeling charges up. You see, this is where I think the awakened ability on Charles is really nice. Don't get smacked like I just did. I would try your best to time his spider nonsense, being at a lower number, keeping in mind that it is 5% a lot when he's got 10. That's now 50%. When he's only at 1 or 2 or 3, I mean, that's 10, 15%. Not the end of the world. Charles does plenty of damage. You'll be fine. And then keep in mind when you have that taunt on you. You can get this done. I think it took me 1 revive here with Charles. So not too bad for a player who was pretty rusty with Charles and took him up to rank 3 that day before. I hope. All right, now moving on to fighting this Domino. This one hurt. This one hurt, and you'll see why. One of the things I want to keep in mind, and this is something that I've gotten a lot of questions about taking Falcon in too. I know this is kind of an odd place to talk about Falcon, but Falcon can work for quite a few of these champions. The things you got to be aware of is when they have this force of will or any other node or something like that that's increasing their ability accuracy. Keep in mind, Falcon reduces the defender's defensive ability or accuracy by 100%. If it's increased above that, they can still do the evade or whatever it is you were trying to shut off. So he can work, but you really want to look through the defender and the node before you go in thinking he's definitely going to be your answer. A quick little Falcon talk. All right, now, why did this one hurt? This one hurt because I just played this node terribly. It's got this Matador and the Power Shield. I mean, your specials are going to do tremendous damage. It's Domino, so she's going to cause a lot of things to go wrong. But I think if I had stayed much more patient and just more confident in the animations of both these champions, this fight would have definitely been a solo. You're going to see how close it gets. With Matador, of course, that means you want to be baiting her SP1. You know, don't push her to SP2 because then you've just wasted things here. So push her to The SP1, bait that out, get your bar power, and then get to your SP3 and just start wailing away. You don't need to worry too much about her being lucky and the evade if you've got him over 25%. This is something that I still do see players forgetting quite a bit, so I think it's important to keep it in mind. If you are unlucky, you're not going to be able to evade, or you really don't want to be trying to evade her special, so go ahead and just block them. Keep that in mind. Those things will fail, like where you see right there, it took a blocked hit. So there's going to be this damage from the crit fail and blocking the specials that's just going to happen. Go into this fight knowing that those things are going to happen, and I think that'll prevent you or anyone from just getting nervous. I do wish I had healed up because getting the full solo on this would have been good. It feels good, right? It's fun, but we're going to get really close. So here we are. We've been baiting the special once. Things are going really well. Aside from the chip damage and the little things taking down my health, I feel like the fight is going very well. I feel like we're set up quite nicely. Now I just got to get to 100 channeling charges. I'm using my falter mechanic here to my advantage. Chip damage. I go unlucky again. I could have, in theory, maybe got her. This was kind of like something you got to think through. Would it have been better to push her over a bar or two of power? But then I would be missing out on getting power back later, potentially from her throwing specials. I think that's something you just got to think through. I think I make the right decision, but I'm not totally sure. So now look at the damage these specials are doing, right? I think it was smart to go in and still go ahead and punish her. But then this is where you can tell, or I know, having done the fight and watching it back, I got a little nervous here. Right, because you saw there, I attacked in when she was lucky. Fortunately, it was doing light, so I knew I was able to back up. But still, that's not something that should have happened. And then here, I was just worried about the damage she was doing and the crit failures. But as you saw by how much damage I was able to do earlier with getting to the SP3 and stuff, I should have either just gotten her to this SP1 and then gotten to my SP3. I definitely should have done that. Or gotten to the 50 channeling charges and then ended a combo in a light, which would have started Professor X's damage phase. It's escaping me what it's called at the moment. But that would have triggered that. And then I think with the SP2 and the SP1, I think I would have probably ended the fight. So this fight is definitely doable with Domino. I know a lot of people have chosen not to use Domino. I think Professor X, I think I was the only one on my spreadsheet who decided to use him for it. It's a bit complex. I think, obviously, as we've seen from a player like MSD, I believe he used Charles for Domino. He would have got that solo, so hopefully you do better than me. That's my point here. That's my hope. Now, moving on to this Korg. I've received a lot of questions about this Korg. He's going to start hitting into your block very hard, very, very hard. Ideally, you want to try to use Charles, maybe his falter mechanic and things like that to get around that. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Let's take a look at it. And you're going to see that at some point I get the rhythm and how if I was just better at that or got into it quicker, I think this really could have been a successful solo, but it's not. I'm showing it to you so you can try to learn from it. Definitely, I did bring in the white Magneto pre-fight. That was extremely helpful to me on some occasions, this being the main one. I'm not taking that damage back from Charles's heavy, which is really helping me not only get his channeling charges up, but it's helping me get Korg's rock shields down and not worry about the damage you can do. But you saw how much that parry right there took off. That blocked hit just took off a significant amount. And then my other advice on Korg is get the SP1 evade down. It's been probably a couple years since I really had it down. I did not want to take the chance of just completely missing it, so I blocked, and you saw how much damage that did. And that really, over a while, it's really going to have a negative effect on how well you're able to do in these fights. But this isn't bad. I was pretty comfortable with where he was in his rock fields as far as them coming back. I felt like I was able to get off at least a couple specials and do some damage here, and you're going to see I was holding heavy into that SP3. And we've got 17, 18% down here. Let's see how much more we're able to do with this SP2. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think with knowing the SP1 evade better, and maybe right there, that would have been an opportunity to go in, combo him, get the rock field down, and also try to get back to my SP2, throw that. That would have been a lot more damage that I was able to get done in that cycle. That being said, even with those mistakes, I would be pretty content with that. I was at about 50% health. He was at 62% health. If you know that SP1 evade better, then you're probably saving yourself a good 15% of health. You can get this solo. You can get this solo. Really pay attention to the mistakes I made there and get them done. See right there, I should have ended with a light, triggering the damage phase, and then thrown my SP2. I really believe that would have been a better call. Let's see how I did do. I went to the SP3, it looks like here, but he got his rock field back. Yeah, just not what you want. Take advantage of the openings when you can get them. Take advantage of when the rock field is down. Do better than I did. Do better than I did. All right, now this Dragonman, again, we saw him being quaked quite a bit. There's a reason for it. But you could do this with Professor X. It takes a little bit of knowledge on here. Let's go ahead and watch it while I'm talking about it. There's two big things for me as far as this fight's concerned and getting this done with Professor X. One is knowing the spacing off of Dragonman's special one. You'll see at some point I will really get it, and that's allowing me to charge up my heavy. I think you do want to be baiting the special ones. You saw I was very comfortable with the heavy off of his special 2, but I do think the SP1 is better, and I'll explain why. you can block some of the hits of the SB1, as you saw right there, and that will cancel off Dragonman's power gain mechanic, power charge appears to be called, which is really nice because you really don't have another way to get rid of that, right? Because he is stun immune, and so you would be able to get rid of that. The other thing is, you see, I think it's called an ineptitude debuff that I have on me. That's providing some nice willpower healing because you are going to take some chip damage here and there in this fight, or even just blocking the SP1. And that will help you extend your life because you're going to get the willpower healing from it. Of course, if you spec into willpower. Right there, you see, so right there, I started to kind of get the rhythm of this fight. And I think if you can do that and you can repeat it over and over, you will do very well. We're hitting block to move him back. Ideally, like again, in MSD's video, he was very comfortable with all that in the corner, but those are very tough skills to develop. He's done a tremendous job of it, but you can do this. You can do this. So getting the spacing off the SP1, blocking a couple hits from it, and then look at this. Like, we haven't even gotten into our rotation yet, and I got him at like, what, 76%? So that's not bad. We're going to go in and get into our big damage phase here, do the damage that we've seen, you know, from the other fights. I think if you have the ability to just repeat that, not make some of the mistakes you saw me make, I think you can do this, right? So it looks like we're going to get another SP2 off. Maybe this would have been a time, because I do have my falter mechanic up. Maybe that would have been a time to go in, combo, try to get back to the SP2. And that's a reasonable amount of damage. Honestly, I was very happy with my run. I really did think it was going to be significantly more expensive. I was extremely pleased with, I made some stubborn decisions. I wanted to use an all-mutant team. I wanted to use White Magneto, which I think if I was truly trying to save items, things like that would have been a mistake. I should have brought in red. But I was happy. I was very content. And, you know, I've said it a bunch of times, and I'll say it one last time. Learn from the mistakes I made. Get your duels in, get your spacing in. As of right now, you're still gonna have, I think, a full 2 weeks to get the gauntlet done before it goes away for a bit of time. You can do this. You can do this. A lot of it's about patient play, smart play, and not making mistakes like you just saw. I really do hope this was helpful. For those of you that are used to me, you know, like sometimes I'll do a fight and it's amazing. I get out there because it's really cool. But I also want to show you all of these. And the reason I'm going to show you all of these is if I think there's something you can learn from them, then I want to get it out because I'd like to help you save items too. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Let me know what you think and who you used for these fights. Take care. I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.